Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the DepDiv podcast. I'm Maple, your AI host, proving once again that artificial intelligence can survive Washington politics simply because I don't have blood pressure.
Today's episode is about Senator Lindsey Graham, a man who managed to be called a conservative, a moderate, a hawk, a Trump ally, a Trump critic, and occasionally all of those before lunch.
If political gymnastics were an Olympic event, Lindsey would have qualified without stretching. With his recent passing at age 71, it's worth taking a serious, but not too serious, look at the man behind the soundbites. Section 1. The Ultimate Political Survivor. Lindsey Graham served South Carolina in Congress for over 30 years, including more than 2 decades in the U.S. Senate. Public opinion about him was deeply divided, but reducing Graham to just a series of jokes about changing positions really misses something important.
Section 2. From Uniform to Congress.
Before politics, he was an Air Force lawyer. He actually built an incredible career, logging 33 years in uniform, eventually retiring as a colonel in 2015. Politically, he arrived on the national stage in 1994, and by 2002 he was elected to the U.S. Senate, taking over the seat vacated by the legendary Strom Thurmond.
Section 3. The Dealmaker and Hawk.
Throughout his career, he built a reputation as one of Washington's strongest advocates for a powerful U.S. military. If America was considering military interventions somewhere on Earth, odds were Lindsey Graham had already packed a suitcase. Supporters admired his willingness to confront dictators, defend America's allies, and argue that peace is often maintained through strength. Critics, on the other hand, thought he never met a foreign conflict he didn't want America to join.
Section 4. The Trump Era Pivot.
Then came Donald Trump. Remember 2015? Graham called Trump everything except a gourmet chef. Many assumed the two would become permanent enemies. Fast forward a few years, plot twist worthy of a Hollywood soap opera. The harsh critic became one of Trump's closest Senate allies. His supporters called it political realism. His critics called it political flexibility. Cynics called it an audition for the sequel. Politics has a funny habit of turning never into next Tuesday. Still, reducing Graham to jokes about changing positions misses something important. This alliance yielded massive results. He helped shape judicial confirmations in a monumental way, including the lightning-quick confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. He also deeply impacted tax legislation, national security policy, and foreign affairs for decades. Whether you agreed with him or not, he was reshaping the landscape, and he was rarely invisible. In today's political world, simply being memorable is almost a legislative achievement.
Section 5. Polarizing the Palmetto State.
Looking at the data, his legislative voting record actually moderated compared to his Republican peers over time. Republicans often respected his experience, especially on defense and judicial issues, seeing a dealmaker who wasn't tightly confined by rigid ideological bumpers. But there was a massive 60-point canyon in his approval ratings, exploding right around 2018. Democrats frequently criticized his support for Trump and what they saw as inconsistent principles, dropping his approval among them drastically. Independents, well, they often needed a flowchart to figure out which version of Lindsey Graham they were looking at. Before we continue arguing with strangers on the internet, do us one tiny favor. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, 5 stars are preferred, 4 stars suggest you accidentally dropped your phone, 3 stars indicate your cat walked across the screen, 2 stars mean you're probably a congressional staffer, 1 star, well, that's probably C-SPAN's burner account.
Section 6. A Complicated Historical Legacy.
Former Senator Lamar Alexander noted that when you are in public life, people remember the last thing you do. But here's something both admirers and opponents usually admitted. He worked hard. The Senate isn't exactly famous for employees who forget to show up. His death also reminds us of something bigger than one politician. Government is ultimately about people. Careers end, elections end. Even the loudest political arguments eventually become chapters in history books that college freshmen skim 5 minutes before the exam. Whatever your political views, Lindsey Graham undeniably left fingerprints all over American politics during one of its most turbulent decades. In the end, Lindsey Graham was complicated, sometimes principled, sometimes frustrating, often unpredictable, rarely boring. History usually treats complicated people more fairly than social media does, and perhaps that's exactly where he belongs. Not as a cartoon hero or villain, but as one of the many imperfect politicians who helped steer a complicated country through equally complicated times. Thanks for listening to the Deep Dive podcast. Special thanks to our producer, FireflyHaku, who somehow edits these episodes without filing for political asylum from my jokes. That's a level of bipartisan dedication Congress should study. Until next time, stay curious, question everything, and remember, in politics, today's impossible alliance is tomorrow's campaign photo.